So I stopped by the farmer's market, the Union Square market. I'm in downtown Manhattan, and I picked up some very nice veggies that I have already washed, and I'm going to cook them very simply today. They're local and they're delicious. I have some cool varieties in here, some simple ones too. I have some broccoli, but I also got some very unique purple Japanese sweet potatoes, and I have these 898 squash. They're like this little mini butternut squash. Cut into them, you'll see they have this very dark orange flesh and they're sweeter. So I'm excited to cook with them today. It's okay to leave the skin on. So I'm just gonna make some roasted squash, some roasted sweet potato. I also roast these beautiful colorful carrots. I'm not seasoning everything overly complicated today. It's going to be a very simple one, but very tasty. When using local seasonal vegetables, I just roast them with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and I'll let the vegetables speak for themselves. It's great to start your week with at least some of the vegetables already roasted. They'll definitely encourage you to eat more of them through the week if you have them prepared as a side. So that's what I like to do. I'm gonna keep my oven at the same temperature the whole time, so it's easier for me to roast the other veggies. I like to roast vegetables at higher temperatures. Even though with squash, if you go a little lower, it can also bring more the sweetness, but I'm short in time. It will take a little longer than everything else, so I want to make sure that I have that going while I finish prepping the everything, and then I'm going to cook my grains. I'm going to get the rice and get the cooking too, so by the time all the roasted vegetables are ready, the rice will be ready. So I'm using brown rice today, short grain brown rice. I'm going to save the seeds for this as well. So I have a little container here ready, and I'm just going to cut them in half and remove the seeds because I can save this. They will be a garnish for the squash. They also taste really great as a snack if you want to just toss some paprika, olive oil, salt and pepper in them. But I always like to save the seeds of this mullet and the squash for roasting and having that extra added protein. That way it makes your meal prep low waste as well. I'm not composting my scraps today, but if I was at home, I would be putting all my food scraps in the compost. But I'm gonna go ahead and do all this squash now. Roasting pumpkin seeds, if you lay them in a little plate or anything with a paper towel or rag, if you don't use paper towels, and let it dry for about an hour or two before you roast. They get really crispy. We don't have that time right now, so I'm just gonna go and let them dry a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and roast them. I also find it handy when I'm cooking to put a little bit of salt. I like to use kosher salt in a container like this, so I can just grab it and season it with my hands. I feel that I have a lot more control if I season like this, other than just get the container and trying to dump everything in there. I'm gonna just be using the same little thing of salt for almost everything that I cooked today. Little fresh black pepper in here. If I had some fresh thyme, if I was home and had my garden available to me, I'll definitely throw some fresh thyme in here. To the oven goes. So I'm gonna do the sweet potatoes next. I'm going to keep the skins on. I'm cutting the potatoes on a bias. The bias just means that you're cutting on an angle like this. You can hold the knife on the side, and that'll just make it look a little bit prettier. I'm just going to season this with some olive oil, salt and pepper. I'm gonna go with my hands in here right now, and I'm gonna make sure that I toss this really well. Then I'm going to wash my hands right away so they're not oily, and then put them in the oven to roast with the squash. So you can just leave it open until the water comes from boil, and then we will turn it down to simmer and cover it up. To clean this kale, the way that I like to clean kale, I'll just hold it and kind of just do pull against the leaf. I'll take the stems. The stems are also really good in soups. If I was making a soup today with this, I would saute this together with the onions and the garlic in the beginning of the cooking process, and I'll do whatever I want to do in the soup in there. Only add the kale at the end. I would just throw the kale in there, stir like once or twice, and turn it off, so it keeps that nice bright green color there as well. I don't really like to add the kale in the beginning and let it cook for a long time because it gets so brown and mushy and loses a lot of its brightness. but I'll cut the stems very small so they can't be fibrous. That way it's just a better mouthfeel as well. So I like to use this. This is a very handy, it's a nice little bowl scraper, but I learned this in the restaurant to transfer things to a bowl without making a lot of mess, especially after you cut things small. They're very great to as a little grabbing tool. Okay, for the kale, you can just break with your hands if you want. Or if you're in a rush and really want to get things fast, you can cut it. If they're not as delicate as lettuce that you want to tear with your hands, just grab a whole bunch and rough chop it. I like to always turn it on first to move whatever I'm going to use close to me. To this side now. I'll wait until this pan gets hot. A trick that I've learned in restaurants is how to see if the pan's hot. To just put your hand, you hover, you don't touch the pan, you hover your hand over. And if you feel the heat coming towards you, it means that it's ready for you to add the oil and start sauteing, which means sauteing. So there's some lemons in here that I'm gonna use. But this is gonna happen really fast. So definitely hot. The oil is already going to the side of the pan right away, and it runs fast when you're moving. So I'm gonna add the stems first. And hear that sizzle, that's what you want to hear every time there's sauteing something. I'll have to turn this pan off, so my audio might get a little messed up. For just for safety. So let this saute for a minute or two. I'll just rinse this bowl right away so I can wash it, so I can reuse it. We don't have to keep using the bowls. But look at this nice. Hopefully you can see it with the camera so far, but yes, it's nice bright green color. I like to already season it too to help pull the moisture out of it, get a little soft. So as soon as I put it in the pan, I'll season it a little bit. This is the lemon juice that I'm going to throw it after. And I don't want to cook this too long too, even though it is a little tougher than the kale leaves. I want to make sure that it's okay to still have a little bite. So now, I'm going to add the kale. And I'll let it kind of crisp up for like maybe 30 seconds and a minute. Now I'm also ready to right away rinse in this bowl, because that's the same bowl that I want to use for my broccoli. Now I'm going to put the bowl here. The broccoli I'm going to use next. While I'm waiting for that, I'll set up for the next task. Getting nice and bright green, so you don't want to cook much longer than this. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder. If we had fresh garlic, we would do the garlic with the olive oil in the beginning. A little bit of the chili flakes, and just mix it around, and it's ready. I'm going to turn it off already because it's losing a lot of the volume. Once I turn off the flame, I add the lemon juice. Then it can be a little bitter, so finishing with lemon juice can really add some nice brightness to it. And this is ready. I'm going to move to this pan right away because I don't want this to keep cooking. I'm just going to taste this real quick. Oh, it's great. It doesn't need any more salt. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the broccoli. So just take this part that's been dried out. The only thing that I'm not going to use. So I'm going to use this broccoli in that same pan that's in there. I will let it cool for a second, and then I can just rinse it real quick, and then can put it right back in the stove, turn it on, and the stove will dry it out. But I don't want to put it in the water while it's really hot, so I'm going to do the broccoli first. There's a lot of broccoli in here. I might have to do 2 batches for this. Okay, now this is a bit slightly cooler. I'm going to rinse it real fast. That way I'm only using 1 saute pan for everything too. And then I don't have to wash so many dishes at the end. I barely made any dishes so far because I've been reusing almost everything. Now, let me check this, guys. Actually, the sweet potatoes roasted much faster than I thought. They're ready. Which is great. Check on this squash. Still a little firm. So I'll let go for about 10 more minutes. And then that's great because I need to reuse that same pan to do the carrots, so perfect timing. I'm gonna do this broccoli right now real quick. Now for broccoli, I really love to eat charred broccoli, so I like to get the pan really high. So it's kind of, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it's kind of smoking. That's really good for the broccoli. Just butter a little bit if it's wet, just be careful. Noise again with the pan on. For almost everything you saute, you put it in there and you leave in the pan for a while. You know, at least 30 seconds for a minute so that resist the urge of moving. That would really help with creating a fresh plug of anything that you are trying to saute. I'm going to add a little salt in this to help again pulling up the moisture. I can see on the edge that some of them are browning. I'm just going to flip it. So there's a very nice brown color. I hope you guys can see on some of the edges. That's exactly what I was looking for. And I really don't want to cook this broccoli all the way. I found that most people would rather have it nice, charred, caramelized, but still crunchy inside. So obviously I don't want it raw. It needs to cook for a minute. But keeping that bright green color and some of the integrity of the vegetable, it makes a huge difference. I'm gonna just do it one more time. Beautiful, nice, charred edges. I love to see that. I'm gonna finish with some lemon juice again. I didn't turn it off this time because I'm gonna do another batch right away after this. And I'm gonna put in the little container as well. Reusing this, and just add a little water. Okay, this olive oil again. And I'll try to put everything just for time. See if it'll fit everything that's in here now. Got a really nice caramelization on the first batch, so even if this one doesn't get as caramelized, I'm going to mix them two together at the end, and that will kind of just make a nice mix on everything. So after putting it in here, really hot, let it sit for 30 seconds, make sure you get the nice clear in the bottle. Then you again, a little bit salt, the veggies. I like to wipe as I go, so be careful if you're doing this, but I hate to see this little oil splatter on the stove. So once, if I have a minute, I always have the habit of kind of wiping it on myself too. So black pepper, let this go. I'm going to rinse this bowl while I'm doing this, because I'm going to put them right back in this bowl and toss it again another two. I'm going to check on the squash again, and I'm going to take it out. It looks nice and sizzling. I'm just going to finish up this broccoli. Oh, that's enough. If you're not comfortable doing this, just make sure you got a spatula, and you can just mix things around too. Yeah, don't drop it when I'm tossing, but I drop when I get the spatula. How's that? Broccoli in here, mix up with this one. I did not add lemon juice to that, but it's okay. I can add now. To just toss everything together, so that way all the flavors from the first to the second batch incorporate, and now everything is the same. Going. Just cleaned up real fast everything, and I'm going to, I put this pumpkin seeds in here to roast them at the same time that I'm roasting the carrots. There's a lot of carrots in here, so I don't know if they're going to fit in this container, so I'm going to go in here just in case. Take the tops off. I like to do it with my hands. They already are washed, and I scrubbed these carrots really good when I was washing, because I'm going to keep the skin on. So I want to make sure that was all the little bits of dirt and everything that could be in there has been washed off. Okay, so I want to do this real fast. This is supposed to be a meal prep, so just got all the carrots in there. I'm going to start from the thin side. I'm cutting the bias the same way I cut the potatoes when it gets to this thick part here. The fat part I cut in half, and then I keep going. The carrots are all cut and nice, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just dress with a bit of olive oil, salt and pepper. And I'm going to do the pesto, and we're done. So you can remove sort of hardier part like of the stem, but do not throw this away. This make amazing stock. You can just put this in a little reusable bag, and then when you go make stock if you make stock once a week with your food scraps, definitely add this to here. It's very aromatic. I'm gonna cut these up roughly. Smells great. There's a lot of flavor on carrot tops actually. So I want to make sure there's enough liquid in there when I'm blending. So I'll start with a little bit of olive oil. I'm using some pumpkin seeds that were already here. That's to keep with the fall winter theme. And add some salt. If you have fresh garlic, you can add some garlic. I'm going to add some garlic powder. Chili flakes for flavor. Cheese, Parmesan cheese, I'm gonna add that. That will add a really great umami flavor to this. I'll turn it off and I'm gonna start adding carrot tops. So it's much trickier if you do it in the blender that we do in a food processor. But you just have to kind of keep stopping and seeing. You don't want to go too fast, you don't want to make this super smooth, but you also don't want it to not blend, so you kind of have to kind of do it. So it does not look too bad for being done in a blender. I'm going to transfer this to a little jar. It's going to be good for a couple of days. It will start oxidizing and losing the color, but also it freezes well, so you can always freeze it in like ice cubes and things like that. And then when you're warming up, you roast it, or you can just, let's say, warming the vegetables, you could take a little ice cube, throw in there, and roast together in the oven. Having this extra sauce like a pesto like this, you could make pasta one night, and also you roasted vegetables, just have a pasta with pesto, put it in chicken if you want to season chicken. So it's always good to have an extra sauce when you're meal prepping something. And it can be an instant like flavor boost to things. So just want to show the rice from a little closer. Rice is ready. Carrots are about to come out of the oven. Got our sauce in here. I'm gonna start cleaning right now, but this is the food that I cooked today. I tried to put everything over here, but my camera is dying, so I have to wrap up this fast. And that was a very simple meal prep, very easy to make, mostly roasted vegetables, a few sauteed veggies, and some cooked grains. So the vegetables that are on season in the fall and the winter are this really great roasted, so it's truly a great time to meal prep now, and if you want to cook ahead so you can have time to do other things. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please make sure to leave in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.